ஹலோ, யாரு? தன்ராஜா? நான் தான் ராமசாமி பேசுறேன்.
Hello, welcome to Vanga Pesalam. Today, my guest, my beautiful nieces, Varshini and Harini. Hey, girls.
Hi.
Hey. So today we're going to be talking about the Archies, which just came on Netflix this Thursday. So Harini, let's start with you. So your first thoughts about Archies.
I thought it was really fun and light. I almost think it might have been too like surface level. I wish it had like a little bit more like oomph, but I thought for what it was, like derived from the comics, it being about Riverdale, including like the Anglo-Indian community, and then whatever the problem, the conflict they were facing in the movie. I thought it was well done, and the set design, all that stuff was really good. I just think it needed a little bit more like something to bite into. Like it just started out of nowhere and ended nowhere. And then obviously the acting is a lot of new people. So that was a little bit deficient too. But overall, it was okay. Not my favorite.
What about you, Varshini?
Similar lines. I liked the concept of the movie. I see why the movie had to be made. I see the angle that they brought towards a younger generation. It's a different kind of movie, and I think India needed to make a movie like this, and for that I do really appreciate it and like it. The set, like Heidi said, and the casting and the the whole like was it the 70s? Yeah, the 70s angle.
60s,
they were
right? 60s.
70s.
60s.
Yeah, 60s. Yeah, I think it was I think it all came together very, very nicely. It just needed something to sort of grip you and keep you interested. And I think that was never there from the beginning to the end.
So I felt like they could have introduced the characters a bit more clearly, like the typical Bollywood thing, but maybe like she didn't want to do it. Suddenly Agastya came, suddenly Kushi came, you know what I'm saying? So maybe that was one thing. But I thought all the dances and everything was pretty cool though. I really enjoyed that the roller skating thing, Dan, they did the dream sequence, pretty nice. So what do you think about the dances and songs and everything, Harini?
I loved it. I thought the costumes, number one, were so good within just like overall, but even for the dancers. I thought maybe in some parts, like in the beginning, the musicals were like the musical part of it was happening too much, like it was too frequent.
Yeah,
like they would start a song and then maybe like even two minutes later would be the next song. I felt like that was a little too frequent. Like even though it is a musical, like it should be like moving the plot forward, and it just felt like, oh, we have a song, so we're going to try to place it, and it just felt very, congested. And then at some point the song stopped and it was just very like story driven, and that was also confusing, and I'm like, wow, there hasn't been a song in like, I don't know, like 10 minutes. That's not the pace of this movie. So I think that was a little bit like off, like on and off, and that was noticeable, which you don't want in a musical. You want it to be seamless. But the songs itself, the dance routines itself was really good. I think they definitely like trained them and practiced a lot, because you can tell it was just like on beat and everyone was synchronized. I think that was really well done. No complaints there.
So what do you think, Ashni, about the songs and dances? Too much, too little?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I think everyone did a good job, just just keeping the whole movie really, really light. I really liked the concept of how they like weaved in the story and the music and like a message into everything. And visually, it was just a treat. It was like being inside a gingerbread house on Christmas Eve or something like that. It was just so nice to watch.
Yeah.
Overall, I think the music and dance really added a lot to the good parts of the movie, and it really brought up, the energy of the whole movie.
And I think it was a really good way, like when they said we're making like an Indian like spin-off version of Archies, I think making it a musical was like genius. I think that was like probably like the best like part of it. Because the story is so light, it needed something like this to justify the lightness, because I'm imagining it without the musical and it just feels bland, and it already does that in a lot of parts. So I think having the musical like helped a lot. So that was really good.
Yeah. So like this should have been my first question, but anyway, I'll ask it now. So have you guys read the books, the Archie's comics, both of you, or no?
I've like
I feel like
picked it up and like read like a page. So like I know of it. I don't think I've like, was like reading all. I think it was a little bit before me, obviously. So yeah, I just know of it a lot. And then Riverdale, like I watched the first couple of seasons of Riverdale. So that was whatever that was. Yeah.
that I
about you?
fully skipped. I had
Yeah.
no idea. No, I don't know anything about the show at all.
Mhm.
Never got into it, but I did know all of the characters that I was familiar with.
Okay. So Harini, you just kept saying that it was missing some oomph. So what do you mean by that? So what do you think that should have been added to make this movie even better for you?
I think one, the acting could have been
Acting, yeah, okay, fine, I
a little
understand.
bit more, but I know it's like a lot of the
First
three main
movie.
characters were new people. So for what it was, they did a great job. And you could tell they were, really attached to their characters. Like when I thought Betty, I think Kushi Kapoor did really good, and Suhana, the same for Veronica. They like embraced that really well, but obviously they're gonna grow and get better. But I think the concept of the villain could have been Hiram, which he's, consistently the villain is the person that's coming in to the bulldoze the plot and build on that land. I think he could have been a little bit more aggressive. I think with the lightness, like the villain also got really light, and then it just felt like very like low stakes. And it's like towards the end, at one point, it felt like, oh, you could have just talked to Hiram and he would have been like, yeah, sure, like this is totally fine. Let's just not do it. It felt like I watched like 2 hours of like nothingness, only for him to be like, I'm so glad you got what you wanted. It's like, okay, what was this fight for? So I feel like that was just missing. And maybe if that like added like just more to it, then it would have justified like everything that they were doing in like the first hour and a half. I also think the character thing in the beginning, like I'm just wondering for people that haven't read the Archies or don't know anything about these characters, like how that played off for them.
Yeah, I understand.
Because that was definitely going to be confusing. Like just to understand, oh, he's like the playboy character, and she comes from the rich family, and she's like, those things weren't as like rooted in the film as it could have been. Like it's something that you understood towards the end, but it wasn't like from the get-go. So the character development, it wasn't there because it's like assumed that, oh, everyone knows about these characters, and I feel like I just don't know how that would have played out for people that don't know about them.
So what do you think, Varshini? What is the one thing or like something that could have been added to the movie which would have made it better?
I would say maybe that they should have kept more to the story and brought more of the story's perspectives and angles and emotion a lot more than they focused on building the world, which is kind of opposite to what Harini's saying. But I think that if you wanted a movie with a really strong story and a strong plot, and just make the movie like move along, then you need a screenplay that sort of captures more of the plot, more of the story, more of the background through the plot. So here the background world building was separate and the plot development was separate, but they could have combined the two a little bit more. Because they were two separate things. We find out about Archie and his like playful, like him being like a young kid. There's that side going on, and then in the side with them facing the reality of like real world problems, that's going on like completely separately, and there's no real connection to the two parallel stories that are going on over there.
I mean, I
And
understand
even
with
when it happens, even when that does happen, because they're in that one scene where they're all sitting in pop tapes, and then Archie comes in and he's talking about how he got accepted to the school. That's when things like pop off, because they start like fighting and talking about like all the stuff with Veronica's dad happening. That's the first time it happened, and that's an hour into the movie. Like that's almost like an hour something into the movie. So I feel like that is the issue. Like, and Riverdale, not to compare it, like I think there was a good like setting of like all the issues that were already happening and the characters being dropped within that. And with this, it just felt like so like happy and jolly, and then like they're talking about like this one issue, and then even the way it was presented, it's like it's gonna get solved, it's gonna be fine, like, and they make you believe that you're like, okay, yeah, I don't care, like you're gonna fix this. Like I just wish there's a little bit of like a battle between, ooh, are they gonna make it, are they gonna fix it, like that wasn't there, like just the anticipation. It just felt like we knew what the result was, and then we waited an hour to get to it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I agree with you in the fact that people who have no idea about Archies, I think would be really confused here, right? Like Jughead, like being a foodie, it's a huge thing on like on the comics. He always has something in his hand, eating, which like there's no mention of it. And suddenly he's been like tortured with a huge food in front of him. Why is happening? Nobody knows. And the villain too. I mean, seriously, I don't even know if he's really a bad guy in the first place, right? The bad guy would have been the guy that who is
The head of the
office bearer.
council.
Yeah, council. Yeah, that guy. He's the real actual bad guy.
He's the villain, yeah.
He's the villain. But this guy, he's just showing all these different things, and finally, oh yeah, I'm good for you. That was funny.
It was just it was also confusing. Do you remember in that like one of the first scenes when they're talking about building this plaza, and the mom
mom is
putting it in
yeah.
Green Park? Okay, and then I don't know where she flips later, but then she's so happy that Veronica's going against it. I'm like, wasn't this whole thing your idea?
Yeah, exactly.
She's just trying to stir like conflict between the dad and her daughter, and I'm like, didn't you suggest doing this, and now you're happy that she's against it? Like, it was just confusing.
So this one, do you guys feel like they really wanted to make this movie, or they just wanted to launch these kids into the industry? What do you think, Harini?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I'm so glad I'm not in the industry. I'd get in trouble for answering.
Talk show.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Okay,
but I'll start. I think it's definitely a combination of both. Likely, like all of the three main characters at least are like at the point where they were probably looking at something to get into. And obviously with Bollywood and with just like people coming from families that already have, you know, existed within Bollywood. So Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan's family, Kushi Kapoor's family. I think a lot of it is how you get introduced in, and by who you get introduced in. And we've seen that play out previously with Alia, with Ananya, and all these people. So I think it was just a matter of like, whose movie do we want to be in first, and what do we want that to look like? Because obviously it's a big like brand and PR moment is like your first movie, and then where you go from there. So in that regard, I don't think anyone's gonna say no to a Zoe Akhtar movie.
Exactly.
Like that is a huge plus. That's like you know, Sanjay Leela Bansali, or like in their own versions, like Karan Johar coming to them and saying, we want to launch you. So I think she's a big name to do that with. And then on top of that, her concept being this is just fresh and new and youthful, all of the things that they want to be as they come in to the movies. So I think it was a mixture of both. And I don't know the full angle of why she chose them, but I think it's very clear why they would have chosen to work with her. But it's also on her end, it's like fun to see like younger people do it. Obviously she could have chosen someone from outside the industry, but it just, there's a lot of us watching it to see what these kids are going to do, knowing their, you know, families. So I think there's a pull from both ends. So
what do you think, Varshini? What do you think? Varshini? Yeah.
Okay, am I?
Yeah. Go ahead. It's kind of breaking up, but it's okay. Go ahead.
We'll fill in the blanks.
Cool. Yeah, just fill the blanks. I really think this is a good thing for them. I think that the difference between Ananya Pandey doing Student of the Year and Alia Bhatt doing Student of the Year as well, the difference here is they get to do something refreshing. They get to do something where they are portrayed differently than the typical Bollywood actresses who are just there for the glam. Both Student of the Year movies, if I had to compare to them, were more, you know, there was a character for the female lead, but it wasn't really strong. And it looked like there was more to the story than focusing on the talent of these actors in those movies. But here, the flip side is there's a lot of focus on each of these characters. They bring a certain history of the character that they're playing to it. These are all good things to do in your movie when you're like, when
Starting.
you don't have like a star power to go off of, you're backed up by some other character's strong appearance. And I think that's a huge advantage, because I think Suhana will forever be remembered as Veronica, and that's a great legacy to have. And from here on out, I think they will have their kind of movies that they want to do, and they'll be able to pick it. They don't all have to be traditional Bollywood heroines where they act in a movie where their role isn't, strong, or they've already done a great role. They can just go off of that to the next role. So I think they made good choices, and lucky for like good timing for all of them to get this opportunity.
So I think the joke on the internet is Suhana Khan played a real self in the movie. That's a joke. She's a real life Veronica from a rich family and everything. So Harini, a favorite.
I saw another meme that said, this must have been Dhirubhai Ambani International School's annual day on Netflix.
Oh, they all went to the same school? Really?
I think so. Maybe
Really?
they all went to
Wow.
the same school. I'm not sure, but I was like, okay, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
It
it
does
makes sense.
sound
Makes
like,
sense.
like Bollywood actors' children's annual day.
It's actually Riverdale.
That's funny. So Harini, favorite male character?
I really liked Agastya Nanda Archie. I think he might have been the best in terms of acting. He was just so charming, and nothing he did was cringe. And there's a few others that I was like, like I don't know about this, but he danced so good. He didn't make me hate Archie, even though it's like the playboy, whatever. Don't love that for him. Just everything about his character was perfect. I'm really looking forward to everything he's going to do in the future. I think he's got some real potential.
Varshini, favorite male character?
As well.
Also,
He was balanced the whole playboy, but somebody who really cares, act really well. He was able to bring both sides of like a character together, and it all ended up being really, really sweet. And I think he's worked really hard to like be good at performance, be good at acting, bring in like a really like coming of age family dynamic kind of story. He brought that out really well. All of those things I think he did really well. The other person who I think was also so perfect for the character was Betty, Kushi as Betty. She just like fit the role so perfectly. I mean, I don't know whether she's like that in person or anything, but it just seemed like she embodied that role so perfectly. You could just see that that's what Betty Cooper would be like if Betty was Indian and in Riverdale, and it fit the mold so perfectly, her character for her.
yeah.
So Varshini has said Kushi is the favorite female character. So what about you, Harini? Favorite?
I would say Kushi as well, which is funny because I think Janvi would have played Betty really well too, which is her older sister. And I think both of them just have that like natural, like coy, shy, but like glamorous, powerful, like that combo. And I feel like Janvi's played that a couple of times in her movies, and I think Kushi has the same kind of nature. So she was perfect for her. Also, her outfits were so cute. I'm like, you're doing all of it. We love it for you. I do think, just to add just a different person, I think Dot, I'm not sure the actress that played her, but I think Dot was really great. Yeah, all the scenes that were like about her and like just captured her, she did so good. Like her fight and her struggle was her own thing, and she was really completing that in a good job. So I think she did really good.
So
shout out to Farhan Akhtar for voice acting for one scene.
Oh really?
He speaks to he's Archie's uncle in London when he speaks
Oh really?
on the phone. That's Farhan Akhtar's voice. The second I heard, I was like, oh my god, that's Farhan Akhtar's voice.
Which he wrote like all the lines. He wrote like all the dialogues in the movie. So it's good.
So in this movie, there are like 7 kids, but still we know like 3 of them are the most popular ones, right? The fourth, you can say the Vedanta, the guy who plays Reginald, could be a star,
Yeah,
but
he was good too.
he was pretty good. I liked him the most actually because he's we know that these 3 will be good, but that guy was really good actually. I was wow, not bad, man.
He stood out. Yeah.
He stood out pretty good, and he could dance too. He could dance
Mhm.
really well, So
Yeah.
so okay, so now of these 4 kids, like in 20 years from now, who do you think is going to be a bigger star, Harini? 20 years from now, of these 4 kids, who do you think is going to be a bigger star?
I would love for it to be like a complete 180 and it's Suhana, because she probably was like my least favorite, not like in a terrible way. I just think the other 3 outshined her a little bit. I think she could have, or she probably will in the future do more and better work. But I would love for it to like be a 180 and be Suhana, and it's just like taking after her dad, and it's just like, wow, it's the dad, it's the daughter, they're all doing it. Like, that would be fun. But I do think Agastya has just like a lot of potential. I don't know, just something about him. I'm like, he's gonna be versatile, and just like you could probably put him in anything and he would do a good job.
That's it. What about you, Ashini? A future superstar.
I would love for Suhana to go
Yeah.
to Hollywood.
Yeah, she has like a Gossip Girly energy.
Yeah, I think she would fit in perfectly in Hollywood. And I feel like Bollywood is just not good enough for her. She needs to go above and beyond. I do see that she has a lot of potential for the future, and I hope she does well, because it would be something completely unheard of. A star like Shah Rukh Khan, and then second generation comes through and is able to match that. And if she did it in Hollywood, it would just be perfect. I see her walking down like the Met Gala carpet or something like that. But I think for Bollywood, I think Reggie, he did an excellent job. He definitely has some good roles ahead of him. Yeah.
I think
But I think they
Suhana.
should all take a couple of years,
Which
come
one?
back as like adult characters, like as like grown-ups, and do grown-up roles, and then we get to say that. Like,
Yeah,
this is like
I
they did a child role, they did a child's role, give it a couple of years, come back as an adult and do like a mature, grown, like, fighting scene kind of role.
Yeah, that's a good
And then we'll
point.
tell you.
That's a good point. I feel like I'd love to see them in a complete like opposite, nothing childlike role. Yeah, that'd be good. I do think Kushi also has a lot of potential. I think she acts with her face really well. That was something that I thought was missing with Sahana. Like, and maybe the emotion is a little bit in some ways easier to be like the sad and the coy. I don't know. But I think she did a good job with that. So possibly her.
I think like Kushi Kapoor like can follow the Tabu template. She can do. I think like she can really like follow the Tabu's template well, like really matured roles. I think she would really fit that. Not sure about Suhana, but Suhana, like you said, she can go to Hollywood though. Shah Rukh Khan, Netflix, they have a huge connection. They have a lot of agreement between them. They could easily make a Hollywood movie with Suhana. I think it'd be like very easy for her.
I'm okay with her just doing something really cool in Bollywood. I don't know if she needs to like do a whole thing. Like, I think Bollywood is now getting up there, obviously, and getting a lot of traction. It would be cool to see her just
I mean, we never
bring this
know,
new
right? We
take.
never know. Like nobody thought like Alia Bhatt could do the Gangubai movie, right? When the first movie
Yeah.
came, Student of the Year, nobody thought she'll be doing the same old dance and routine, but Gangubai was different level. So you never know. You never know what's
Yeah.
going to happen. So good. So you guys like the movie at the end or no?
I would give it like a 6.
I like
out
the
of 10.
second half a lot. I think the movie got way better as it progressed.
I agree.
From the first half, once they started getting into the story, once they started like addressing the issues that they were facing as like, coming out and seeing the world, things happening in the world. There's a lot of nuanced things, that classic Zoya things that are like the said unsaid things that she put into the movie, that it really comes out powerfully, because it's important for the younger generation to see this and know that they have a voice, understand how democracy works. Those are all things that, you get carried away thinking this is like a fun movie, like it's a Christmas movie or something like that. But it brings some like belief at the end of the day, like that another generation could understand things like this. and then, you know, like move things forward for the better, right? So I think the second half did a really, really good job. It really brought the movie back from being like a fun comedy.
I don't think I will watch it again, but I'll definitely like go back. I will definitely
Like,
go back
love
and
them,
watch the
but-
songs though. Songs that
Yeah,
I'll
I was gonna
definitely go
say
back and
songs.
watch.
Yeah.
I was very impressed that they all can dance, right? I'm pretty sure they're all
Yeah.
trained, but still they all can dance. They're very, like you said, very well trained and coordinated. Pretty nice, pretty nice.
Also, Suhana dancing in those heels, I'm like, sis, what? But I was explaining this to one of my friends, and I said it's a really well-made Hallmark movie. Like, because Hallmark movies are almost always just like cheesy and like, you know, it's bad, but you're watching it because the bad like feels good. But this just like was real, like at every beat it was like good, but it could have just been, it's still a Hallmark movie at the end of it. You
It's
know what I
still
mean?
lighthearted, right? Like that's
Yeah, this
lighthearted,
is
yeah,
not
like,
too serious.
yeah, and this is probably like Zoya's light version. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like, it's still Zoya out there, but it's like the
Zoya
light
for juniors.
Zoya for
Zoya for juniors, Zoya for the kids, you know? But it is like, to think of it as like watching it younger, like if just like, I don't know, like an 8-year-old was watching it, or a 10-year-old was watching it, or a teenager was watching it, there's a lot for them to grab from it. And it's like kind of watching the High School Musical. And because I just watched it back this week, the High School Musical, and I'm like, what were we, you know? But just as kids, it's like you're taking so much away from it. And I feel like that impact will always stand with this movie. So I think that was really cool. But outside of that, watching it as a grown adult, like it is just like you're noticing some of the flaws, and it's not considered flaws because it's just, you know, how the movie wants to be. It wants to be airy and it wants to be light and it wants to introduce, my real issue with it wants to like introduce all these things, but it didn't delve into it. But maybe that's okay. Maybe it didn't have to like go so deep into it and like, you know, unpack everything. Like it just touched all these little things, and it's like, these are things you're going to face as you like become an adult. And it's like, great, good to know. Like that's what it was, and it was good for what it was.
So
I
6
will
out of
say
10,
though,
yeah.
if they made an Archies part 2, I might watch it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're watching it.
They're
for
watching
sure.
it. Sure, yeah.
Are we watching it again?
Again. See, that's what I'm saying, right? I wouldn't go back. Oh my God, that scene was awesome. I have to watch it. No, there's nothing there. But that song was awesome. I had to go watch it. Definitely.
Yeah. If I'm going
All
back,
songs
it's
was
because
pretty fun. Yeah.
if I'm going back, it's because I want to see all the clothes again. I think the set and the clothes, it was so good that I didn't like, at one point I didn't care about the plot. I just wanted to see what the next scene was going to be painted as, which I don't know if you guys noticed, even just like the pacing of things moving so fast. I was watching a review and they had talked about how like they had made it look like a comic strip. So within a page in the Archies, you would get like 3 or 4 comic strips, and then you'd move to the next page. And the scenes were laid out in the same way. You'd have like a couple seconds and it's like the 4 scenes, and then you'd move to the next page. And that's how it was done, which is very subtle. You don't notice it as much. But the reason for like the scenes moving so quickly was because it wanted to feel like a comic strip.
Yeah. Good. I mean, the last thing I want to say is Suhana Kapoor, of all the kids, I think like she seems to be like ready for Bollywood. I saw all the red carpet and everything. She can really like carry herself well, and Kushi was kind of really awkward in all of those things. Like I could see that, but Suhana, she was very bold and very, you know, she had the right attitude and everything. But like I'm pretty sure like Shahrukh has trained her well. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited for this generation of the Nepo kids. I'm excited for them.
Yeah. But the guy who played Reginald, his name is what, Vedant or something? He's not a star. Okay,
Yeah.
right? He's not a star.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I need to Wikipedia these kids and see.
Yeah, would love to know
what
more.
their background is.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you for this. Thank you for this. So, hey, Varshini, what are you watching apart from this?
Nothing. I'm reading. Oh, no.
Reading.
I'm
So
going
cute.
against
Get out.
the pack. I'm falling behind. Yeah, I'm really falling behind. I'm reading future Netflix content is what I'm reading. So
Really?
at least we can come back and discuss that. I will have book perspective and show perspective, and yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. Okay, girls. Thank you for this. And Harini, have a nice trip. Okay.
Thank
Bye in
you.
India. Okay. Bye,
Thank
Varsho.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, thank you for watching my video. Please hit like and subscribe and keep watching. Thank you very much.